Okay, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to move into kind of the segment. We're going to start to introduce what our world is going to look like on D&D, right? So if you were here for the D&D stuff, this is where we're going to kind of get started. Um, I'm going to be the one running the campaign. I'll be your dungeon master, your game master, your god, your whatever you want to call me, right? That's going to be me.
Wow.
Jesus just gonna strike me right now.
Well, I'm sitting right here, so
This is a good start.
Right.
Oh
So
boy.
we're gonna go ahead and kind of get things started. So what I'm first gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of introduce you guys into the realm that you're gonna be existing in, right? So welcome to the realm of Bertugia. We find ourselves within a time of chaos, not only in the realm of men and elves, but within the realm of Elysium, overseen by the gods of Bertusia. The gods of Bertusia have long held influence over the realm, giving birth to everything from the universe to the life inhabitants of Bertusia, and even creating emotions that are felt by those inhabitants. This has always led to a chaotic balance between the gods of Elysium, as many can be depicted as good or evil. These gods each had to work together to bring together the realm of Bertusia, but none of them could have ever done it alone. But once their creation became complete, they never worked together again. This is because each of them felt that their portion of the creation was the most pivotal part of it. So they each retreated to their own plane of Elysium, meddling in the affairs of mortals with their own disconnected, and fueled by hatred for the other gods. The mortals of Bertusia are very aware of the 10 divines that created them, but because of their chaotic nature, many have come to despise some or even all of those gods. This does not mean that the divines go ignored, however, as each mortal knows that one day they will find themselves in one of the 10 planes of Elysium, but many have chosen to worship angels rather than gods. Angels are something that the 10 divines could not have predicted. Well, almost all 10, and I'll get into that in a bit. This is because each of these angels were once mortals who lived specific goodly values in such a manner that the legend of their lives became known through all of Bertusia and became so valued that mortals started praying to them after they had died. While in the plane of Elysium after their death, the prayers of so many mortals still alive in Bertusia was actually enough to be able to bring these angels back to the realm, where they could remain with men without fear of aging and dying of age. But angels knew that they weren't able to interfere with the powers of the gods, for while they were no longer able to age, they were certainly still able to be killed. They were not immortal. So because of this, these angels lived in secret. They never disclosed their location to anyone, but instead influenced the lives of those who pray around them. Right? So there are gods, there are angels. There's no devils per se in this world. They're all just gods. So don't think of heaven or hell. That's why I called it Elysium, right? It's not necessarily heaven or hell. It's just a realm of Elysium that people are going to go to. They may find it nice. They might find it not so nice. Angels weren't created by gods, but there will be demons throughout the world, and those will generally be spawned by the gods. Right? So not by men or anything like that. So all your badly races, things like mind flayers, that kind of stuff, they'll all exist because of the gods.
Okay,
Cool.
okay.
cool.
So what I'm hearing here is there's no hell and I can make hell. Is that what I'm getting at?
says, I'm sorry. Did you decide you were going to be a cleric? Let's go ahead and start with your introduction. I think you're a paladin, so I don't know.
I'm a paladin. I'm a
I don't know about
paladin.
making hell on your end.
Well, you know, there's righteous indignation and whatnot, I'm sure.
Right.
All right, so we're starting off with my character first, then.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Tell us about Tell us about yourself. Give us a little bit about who you are, and if you want to dive into any of your background stuff, that's totally cool as well.
Okay, cool. So my name is Yinko. I am the last Lord of the Broken Tower. So my backstory with that was I was actually born a prince, but my entire kingdom was just ran over by a bunch of demons, hellspawn, that kind of stuff. Just everything came through and destroyed everything, and they wanted to completely wipe out my bloodline because we were spurning the advances of gods who were seeking power, and we were holding them back for our own gods' purposes. And as a result of that, they decided to wipe us out because we were the thorn in the side, as it were. But my teacher, who was my master, teaching me everything that I know about the sword and the way of the paladin, was able to get me and him away. And as far as we're concerned, there were only two of us left. And then when he was murdered a couple of years ago, I was by myself. I've been wandering the lands for a while, trying to find a good purpose, and I haven't had any purpose. I fell into deep depression until I found the group that I'm in now, and they've given me new life and new purpose, and it has been wonderful for me. Anyways, moving on. My personal traits, however, so I have the ability to stare down a hellhound without flinching. So I ain't scared of no beezy. So then my ideals is I'm all about the greater good. I'm all about the greater good. If there's a bad situation, no matter what it is, I will always take the gooder or the greater good route.
The gooder route.
Gooder, right?
The gooder route.
About gooder.
I've got gooder. I'm gooder stuff. And then my boons is. Or bonds, I'm not sure what that is. So I fight for those who cannot fight for themselves, right? So I'm the goody guy. But my flaw, it's kind of a crappy one. It's not stealing if I need it more than someone else. So I'm a good guy, but I'm kind of a dick. So
right. You're just kind of you're a shitty paladin, but
yeah,
you're a paladin.
Yeah, I have what people call moral justification. That's my thing. So I do all that. But like I said, I'm a paladin. I'm a beast. I wield a broadsword, two-handed great sword. I'm super awesome, and yeah.
Awesome. What's your master's name that died?
Let's see here. That was Master Mitsu.
Mitsu.
That was Master Mitsu.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Perfect. Let's go ahead and jump to Chris. Chris, go ahead and tell us a little bit about your guy.
All right. So I'm not going to do this intro and character voice because my character Khan basically has Batman's voice, and I don't want to shred my throat this first session. But yeah, so my character is Khan. He is a Lycan, which is essentially a wolf. Like, he is literally just a humanoid anthropomorphic wolf. He is chaotic good, and he's just this big, grumpy, angry wolf guy. So Khan, he and his family originally lived in Carvalin. Yes, I did just come up with that city name. Thank you. Along with other Lycans.
I'm gonna take a note of that real quick, just so that I remember it. What was it called?
Carvalen, Carvalin.
Okay.
So that's where he's originally from, but then they left once this religious faction kind of attempted to exert power over the clans there, and he fled south to the kingdom of Sirios. So they kind of lived in a forest around there. Khan, he spent time in the Imperial Army, and so he knows how to hold his own in a fight. But he got tired of being used for other people's politics. So when that was done, he just wanted to live a rustic life. So, like I said, when he was younger, he would brawl a lot. Wasn't necessarily bad, but he always showed an aptitude towards fighting. Because of his Lycan strength, he was frequently dispatched to fight some of the nastiest and toughest beasts that would threaten villagers across the Empire. So he thrived in that environment, but once again, he didn't really like being around war and didn't like being used for other people's purposes. So when he came back, he felt, I guess, like the village protector. He always wanted to make sure that everybody felt safe. But he was known as being very fierce. But when he came back, he matured, and he met a beautiful Lycan woman named Shira, who had fierceness to match his and kind of tamed him. So they lived in bliss. They started their own little family. And a couple years into their marriage, Kai and Shira had a baby boy named Khan, who was named after his great-grandfather. So they enjoyed their time together. Khan grew, and everything was going great until one winter night. Kai couldn't sleep, and he heard sounds coming from the forest around him. And before he could react, the village, part of it just burst into flames. So he ran to help, saw some attackers, and it was a group of mind flayers. So he grabbed his great sword, and he started to just cut through these mind flayers, or at least that's what he was intending to do. But then he was stopped as they exerted this strong psychic influence on him, and they rendered him powerless. So they slashed him down his face and his chest, so he has scars along those parts, and he was knocked unconscious. Though he was appeared to be dead, he was later found by soldiers of the Sirios Empire, taken to healers, and after that he quickly ran back to his village. And though he found a ton of people dead there, his wife and child were missing. So he searched for months, trying to track them down, but he couldn't find any trace of them, and has just presumed that they are gone forever. But he's still, in the back of his mind, is always thinking about them, trying to figure out how to get to them. And then the last thing about him, so among the dead was Kai's grandfather, Teral, Teral, and he possessed an heirloom that Kai knew about. So he went to the house, rummaged through, and he found it, and it's a large black dragon egg that had been passed down generation for generation. His family doesn't know really where it originated from, but they would kind of protect it, because obviously dragon eggs are rare and very, very valuable.
Right, as one would when you have a dragon egg.
Yeah, dude. And so he left Syria, or I guess that area of Sirios, because he couldn't handle it anymore, and he settled on a farm kind of a little bit further away. And he kept working, kept listening for any news of mind flayers because he wanted to get his revenge. Everything was kind of returning back to normal as much as it can until one day he woke up and the egg was broken. And when he investigated, he found that a small black dragon had hatched out and was burning little singes into the wool of the sheep nearby. So he scooped it up and immediately took a fondness to him. He started caring for it and developed a telepathic bond with it. And he named the dragon Khan after his son, who he still doesn't know where he is. So now Kai is just with this dragon, Khan, and they don't know what they're going to do, but they're out for an adventure.
Awesome. And so I think all four of us have all listened to different types of D&D podcasts, played a lot of different D&D campaigns with different people. So Chris, you're making a homebrew, right? So a lot of D&D podcasts out there, there's not a lot of homebrew stuff in podcasts. A lot of them are kind of using just the base stuff. And I let these guys kind of make homebrew stuff if they wanted to. So Chris made a homebrew. So tell us a little bit about your class. What is it that you're doing?
So I went with a homebrew. So first, the Lycan race isn't like a traditional race you would find in the player's handbook.
Right, that's one you actually find in the monster manual. So
yeah,
a lot of times they're monsters. So if any of you want to know
Yep.
what Kai looks like, open up that monster manual to Lycan, you'll find him.
Yep. And you'll see he looks very nasty. So I did that, and then my class is actually Dragon Knight, which is kind of like a weak fighter almost. So I don't have all the perks of being like a barbarian where I can just take tons of hits and just attack 10 million times. Kai is very strong, but a lot of his strength comes in his connection with Khan, his dragon, and there's some things later on in my class that involve some magic with the dragon, some resistances that I gain from it, different abilities that I can get through my bond with that dragon. Now I will say, and David and I have talked about this, black dragons are typically oriented toward chaotic evil, and Kai is chaotic good. So the two definitely clash, and Kai is wanting Khan to be more tame and be more good inclined. So that's also going to pose some interesting story progression. So
Right, that is so.
be on the lookout.
Right, some of that type of what I did was I made a deal with him because he came up with this class, and essentially, as he gets farther and farther into that level, he's controlling him and he's controlling a dragon. Right, and I was like, ooh, I mean that feels like it can get pretty OP pretty fast.
Yeah.
So I wanted to find a way to kind of tame that down a little bit, make it dangerous, add some risk. So I had him roll to find out what color his dragon was going to be, and based off that roll, because Kai is good in nature, or Khan is Kai is good in nature,
and
Khan is evil in nature. Occasionally things are going to happen, and I'm going to kind of make them do a contest against will. He rolled the worst roll that he could have rolled, which means that the dragon has actually got more will than him. And it's kind of going to roll on a percentage, and if he loses too much control of that dragon, then it's something that they as a group will have to fight, and at that time I'll have to have him reclass into something more of a fighter or something like that. But he could potentially lose control of that dragon, and that's another just horrific event in his life of losing a wife
of
and a
terrible
child.
events.
And now this one dragon that it's all he's got left, and now he's got to go. Who knows what's going to happen there. So it's all up to the die.
Yep.
Awesome. Matt, tell us a little bit about your characters, right? You're a little different. You're on mute. Ooh, there we go.
There we go. That was weird. I don't know how I went on mute. I didn't press anything. Chris, you throwing me on mute again?
No.
Okay, so my character is kind of homebrew as well. I've been scouring. It's fun, been in D&D for a while, just scouring all the different groups and the different races and classes you can run through. And I just want to give a shout out to the two people that created my race and my class real quick that I found online, because these characters wouldn't exist without these guys. So the race that I'm going to be playing as is called Devati, Dvati, and it is made by, and I love this guy's name. His name is the Middle Finger of Vecna, or Vexna. Huge lynch in a lot of D&D lore, but I've shout out to him for Devati, and then my class is going to be called the Pendragon, and this is also, this one I had to look up. It's Derzite Phantom is what the guy that made this. Shout out to those two for these awesome class and race. So I have a pair of twins, so it's characters, because a Devati is it's basically as if there's one soul, but the soul's too big for one body. And so the soul has been separated into two different bodies. And this is Amrod and Amras. They're two human twins, I guess you call them, because Devati is their race, but they look human. They were found out in the middle of a kind of like a desert, abandoned by a actual dragon. And they were raised by this dragon. They don't know the name of this dragon. They just know this dragon they just call her mom. And they learn Draconic and some giants from her, all hunting and learning how to hunt and just being raised as if they were dragons. So since they've been outside of civilization a lot, they don't know how to actually interact with people very well, very animalistic. And so as they're growing up, it came to the point that, the baby dragons have to leave the nest. And so mom sent them on their way. And they kind of have started wandering, and they ran into a village called Lake Paltz. If you want to write that down, David, as well.
Lake Paltz. I got it.
Paltz, Lake Paltz. And at this lake, they ran into a random family that kind of took them in out of curiosity, but also kind of see these boys that were like 12, 13 years old, 14 years old, that were just kind of wandering around by themselves. And so they learned common at that age and a little bit how to talk with people. But this second second mom inside Lake Paltz, I guess you call them, is basically their second mother that helped raise them. And they learned a little bit how to interact with people. They're not very good at it at all. And they left Lake Paltz, and they're on their journey trying to figure out a little bit about their life and a little bit of what they can do. And their mom, their dragon mom, sent them with a journal that they don't know what it's for. It's kind of written down to, enjoy your journey, have fun, and enjoy some powers. And so as Pendragons, they gain power from their mother dragon. She gives them power, and it's kind of like a sharing of power, of magic. And they are trying to learn it and use it for good, but they don't know what it's going to entail. So they're just kind of wandering and learning and trying to be in this world that's been going on without them while they've been living in caves and with the dragons. So that's kind of Amrod and Amras.
Awesome. So one of the interesting things about Amrod and Amras, so here, we've only got 3 people in the campaign. You got Yinko, you got Kai and Khan, right? So that's 2. So now we're at 3. And then we got Amrod and Amras, which is 5. But Amrod and Amras, one of the ways that they kind of work is because they're one soul, but 2 bodies, they do things like split their movement, right? So, so that's something that's kind of been worked out. That's in the class already. That's built out by the middle finger Vexen, right? Is it
Vecna or Vexna? Yeah.
So
yeah, and it's pretty cool. I'd look it up. Like, they can only cast one magic spell, but they both can attack if they're using like weapons or something in the same turn, but only one spell can be cast on their turn. So it's kind of like using both their mental powers to cast a spell. And there's like the whole rules about concentration and everything. It's cool because you can actually have the concentration on a spell flip between the 2 twin brothers because they basically are one bonded soul for that magic.
Right. So
but then the other fun part is that if one of them, because they kind of not share hit points, but if one of them gets incapacitated or knocked out, the other brother is basically incapacitated and knocked out as well. So if one dies, they both die within a certain amount of time. So it's kind of like you want to be there together, but they can't live without each other because they both have the same soul.
Right. So I think
So they're basically the ice climbers.
Yeah.
Right.
Except Popo can't live without a Nana, right?
That's right.
Right.
All things nerdy right there.
There you go.
So just to cover, just a couple of details. I'll give you guys as much information as you want today. So today we're not actually going to be diving into the campaign, and so just to kind of make sure that everyone's on the same page, I'm gonna go over. I sent these guys what's gonna kind of bring them together. I wanted to bring them together in a very non-traditional format. A lot of times on D&D, you have a group of guys and they all meet in a tavern for a thing, and they just end up there for whatever reason. They're all drinking at the same time or whatever, and I wanted to get these guys into that tavern setting together, but I wanted to find a different way to do that. So each of them kind of has their own thing that's going to bring them together. So for Yinko, after the death of your master Mitsu, your road has been very long, but you have moved with purpose. Your master left you with one last task before his fateful end. As you buried your master, you found a piece of paper in his robes. Yinko, we must travel north to the realm of Marindel, land of the elves. I fear that something dark and terrible lies in wait there, for the gods have gone nearly silent. I've sent word to the champions. Ooh, I have to find that. I have to find that god's name. I named a god.
God.
Right. I've got stuff in all.
Do you
like,
want
all
me to be
kinds of-
writing this down, or
I will send it to you so that you've got it.
okay,
as,
cool. I won't write it down
as
then.
well, right? So I will also send it to you.
Perfect. That works. Oh, and just a little side note. I kind of feel like my character's Russian, so when I'm in character, I'm going to be speaking in my Russian accent.
Nice.
That is canon.
Do it. That's what I want. That's what I want to hear.
We're fleshing out the character.
Right. Well, I would hope that each of you has some sort of your own personal character development. Man, why can't I find? I want to find my. I have notes, but I think if I bring them up, you guys are gonna see them.
No peeking.
Right. So I just.
We'll all close our eyes, right? Because that's how it works.
Anyways, I'll give you the name of the champions that are in existence later, and I'll kind of we'll retcon that into another thing as well.
Another sesh.
Right, just in like,
I like it.
we'll retcon it into our YouTube video that we'll post or something like that, so that we're not just waiting on that. But he sent word to a group of champions who have confirmed higher than normal god activity within that northern region. So you must travel there and meet with the master of the champions, Kaldon. And he wishes you the best of luck on the journey. And you've read that worn paper again and again, and though you've committed the whole letter to memory, wishing your master had been able to complete the journey with you has been a pretty big burden for you. So as your ship docks in the Northern Realm, you know that you must find Kaldon, but the journey has been a long road and very tough. So first, you're gonna go get yourself a drink, because you kind of indulge just a little bit. So you find yourself quickly on the doorstep of the Golden Coin Inn, is where you are. So that is kind of what brings Yinko to this northern realm of Marindel. Is that how I said it?
Yes, you said Marindel.
Yeah, yeah, there it is. There it
You're already
is.
in character.
It is happening. I go for a drink now. I
All right.
thirsty.
So, Khan, you're counting to yourself. 1, 2, 3, 4. Where's the fifth? You check the pennant again, and still no sign of the fifth chicken. As you search around the pen, you find feathers and blood smeared across the back of your pen, and Khan stalking toward the front of the pen for seconds. Damn it, Khan, how many times have I told you that the pen is to breed additional food? You scoop up your dragon, who climbs onto your shoulder and makes a little roar. Then you see from the south something that stirs a deep fear within you. Torches breaking the horizon. You rush with Khan into your home and set him gingerly on the table as you pull your weapon from the trunk and move to the door just in time to hear boom, boom, boom. Master Kai, are you home? You relax a little as you recognize the voice of Carl, the innkeeper. But you don't put your sword down. There were 2 torches, you think to yourself. Aye, Carl, I'm home. What are you doing so far from the inn at this hour? I've got a messenger here for you, all the way from Marindale. He says that he's here for nothing but kindness. And he smiles really wide at you. So you look back at him and you say, "What do you want?" In kind of a gruff voice. And very like you. He's not lichen, right? So lichens are more like wolves, and I'd say that this guy is more. He's like a were cougar, right? So you're more wolf in nature. He's more cougar in nature, and his name is Rai, and he says, "I am Rai, and I've come because I've heard about your hatchling." As he senses your tension raise, he quickly says, "Do not worry. We don't seek to harm it or yourself, for we know of the telepathic bond that it forms as soon as it's born. But we understand that yours is black, and we would like to help you tame him, as this is the most naturally evil dragon on the face of the realm. For this dragon is feared to be one of prophecy that's told to be coming. So please come meet with my master Kalden, same Kalden, in the north, so that we may discuss this matter and aid you where we can. Kai, you realize how Rai, and you now allow Rai and Carl into the house, and you prepare your small farm for departure. You ask Carl to care for it while you're away. You kind of scoop up Khan and you follow Rai and start to head north. And then you find yourself sitting at a table in the Golden Coin Inn, waiting for a man known as Kalden, with Khan safely tucked between your feet at the table.
Cool.
That's kind of what brings you to this inn.
And he turns to look at the drunken man at the table next to him and goes, "Who's that guy?"
Right. So now you two are kind of in the same place. So let's bring Amrod and Amros kind of on board as well. So
Let's do it.
Matt, Amrod and
Yeah.
Amros have traveled far since Mother left. After a day of hard work in the same city where Kai lived on the outskirts of, right? The same city down there. The two of you went out for a drink in your favorite little inn. The people have come to really know and love the boys, who have always seemed to lend a hand to any in need. That town is kind of a town of beggars, so there were plenty that were in need, right? As they sat drinking some of the sweetest honeyed wine, and you saw a very interesting figure enter the inn. It's Rai, right? And you see this were cougar dressed in really clean white robes. He's got a lot of piercings, kind of like all over his ears, his eyebrows, his nose. He's a pretty pierced up fella. The were folk have never really been so much for professional looks, right? And he approaches the innkeeper that you're pretty familiar with, Carl. And the reason you're pretty familiar with Carl is that Carl is the husband of your human mom, right? So
sweet.
Right. You know Carl pretty well, but just like your mother had you guys kind of leave the nest, right? You guys, even though you know and love these people, it's like if you felt like you had to go, you're not going to feel like it's too much of a big deal, because that's just what dragons do, right? That's how the boys kind of grew up. They reach a certain point and they just kind of move on. But you see Rye approach the innkeeper Carl, and your ears perk up, and you hear him say, "Hello, my name is Rye. I am seeking a lichen of dark fur." "Ah, yes," exclaims Carl excitedly. "There ain't many of him down here, but you must be talking to Master Kai, who lives in a farm just north of the city proper. Can you point me to the farm?" Says Rye coolly. "I'll do more than that, sir. I'll put you right on his front door." So he walks up and grabs Rye around the shoulder, who looks kind of uncomfortable. He's like, he doesn't really know this guy, right? He's just way too friendly down there. But he does follow him without complaint. So we should, Amrod begins to say, and then Amros actually finishes the sentence and says, "Follow him?" And the two of them finish their wine simultaneously as they speed quietly out the door right after the stranger. It didn't take much to follow the loud sounds of the always jubilant Carl chatting poor Rye's ear off for the 10-minute walk all the way out to the farm. Just does not shut up, right? Talking the whole time. So the two of you kind of sneak in closer as Carl knocks on the door. Boom, boom, boom. "Master Kai, you home?" shouts Carl. "Hi, Carl, I'm home. What are you doing?" Right? So it's kind of the same conversation that you hear, but you hear it on the outside of the door. As Rye enters the house, the twins both look up at each other, and one starts, "It sounds like," as the other finishes, "They could really use our help," finished Amrod, before the words had even left Amros's mouth. "I'll go back and grab our stuff," exclaims Amrod. "Good, I'll wait here and make sure we don't lose them," Amros replies. And the twins actually stow themselves away on Rye's ship without telling anyone where they're going. And they prepare for their long journey. As they land up north, they jump off the ship and they rush to the Golden Coin Inn. They order drinks and they sit at a table just behind Kai, who doesn't really know them because he's kind of like a loner, right? He just wants to do his farm stuff, right? So he doesn't really know them, not very well, because he doesn't know very many people in town. He might interact with Carl a little bit, and he knows that they've kind of adopted some two weird, like strange kids, right? But that's all that he really knows. So they sit right behind him, and they seem to be the type not to prefer the name Mr. They like as they're looking at Kai, they feel like he probably doesn't prefer Mr. in front of his name, right? So they also wait for Calvin to arrive. So that's kind of what brings you all to the Golden Coin Inn. Rather than just you guys winding up there, right? So, Yinko, you're there for something completely different.
I am getting what I am here for.
Right.
Good drink. Good stiff drink.
Who invited this guy?
Who talking?
As Yinko, as far as being a paladin, the angel that you typically pray to, his name is Raziel. Rasiel.
Hold up. R-E what?
R-A-S
R-A-S. Okay.
I-E-L, Razel. And Razel is, just for the two of you that don't know his angel so well, right? Razel is the leader of all the angels, and the overwatcher of goodness throughout the entire realm. He's also the angel of heroism. So he became the first angel because he consistently was standing up to the gods and things like that. So that's what's kind of made him the leader of all the angels, and the angel of heroism is Razel.
I could get down with this dude being my deity.
Right.
I'm cool with that. Yeah.
An angel of heroes and overwatcher of goodness. Right. So,
I am a hero.
Other than that, do you guys should we cover gods at all? Should we just cover them as they come up? I've got all that stuff kind of written out.
I think we should probably cover it as they come up. I mean, it's something that, it's going to be relevant at times. Like if we talk about it now, I'm going to be like, I don't know what you're talking about later on. So.
Okay. Well then, I think that's kind of the setup for our D&D world. You'll have to bear with us as we make adjustments and fine tuning on our own end. And as we really start to dive into this campaign, we'll be using Roll20. So I'll be sharing a lot of my Roll20 screen with the audience, so that you can kind of see that. Or depending, I may have one of my 3 characters share the Roll20 screen. Just thinking about it, because if I share the Roll20 screen and we're all looking at Twitch and answering questions and answering live feedback and stuff like that, and I've got the map up, then you guys are going to see a lot more activity than.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. That's not a problem.
So I may have these guys be sharing the screen during events, but that's kind of our campaign, and we're going to try to come up with a real good kind of campaign slogan. But essentially, there's a reason why the gods have typically meddled in the affairs of men, and things have been really, really quiet on a god end of the spectrum. And nobody is really sure why things are getting so quiet. So things are definitely weird. Tensions are high in the realm. People are confused. There's just a lot of chaos that's kind of around. People don't know if they should be worried, be excited, no one's quite sure how to feel. But that's kind of the setup for our world. So
general unease going on with everything.
Right.
I hear it.
Dun dun dun.
Okay.
Oh, hang on. I got something for this for the dun 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 part. Okay, here we go. Ready? Hold up.
No.
Oh
no.
my God.
No.
If
I
we
gotta
start
think.
integrating
No.
soundboards,
Are we starting this now? We're doing
We have our
this now.
in-house
No.
Foley.
Oh, see, you got to watch my thing. Dun dun dun.
Oh, the lighting
Right?
effect. That's what you're
Right
going
there
for.
you go. Oh, geez, I'm gonna give
Beautiful.
myself a seizure there.
Right. We didn't give people warnings.
Yeah.
I
Oh shoot, my bad.
I am gonna
I'm gonna get
I am gonna go ahead and preface a lot of this campaign stuff. So I'm definitely not as comical as any of the McElroys or anything like that. When I write this there's still gonna be comedy, right? There's just between us jiving and stuff like that. There will be funny bits in there. I'll have comic relief in there at different points of time. But like a warning to kind of the faint of heart or anything like that. Some of my writing, I've written a lot of story already, and some of my writing can get a little dark. So I'll preface with that and just kind of give some warning to those who are listening. But if that's fine with you, if you're fine with kind of dark fantasy writing, things like that, please feel free to jump in. As always, if you see this video, whether it's on Twitch or on YouTube, and you have comments or feedback or things that you'd like to see or things that you think could make the show better, just send us feedback on our email, right? So thecmdnetwork@gmail.com. And that's kind of our D&D setup. So do you guys have anything
Awesome.
else you want to cover it all today?
No, just drop us a like, tell your friends about us. And yeah, we'll be putting out content pretty regularly. So check back on our channels for updates on podcast and D&D sessions and just all things nerdy.
Right.
Yeah,
So
don't forget to subscribe everywhere either.
right, I think we're gonna try to right now. I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to hit it every other week or every 3 weeks. That we're gonna be trying to do something. As far as this campaign, right? You'll probably see us on Twitch streaming what we're playing, whether it's on PlayStation or on PC or on Xbox, or right. You might see us if you have questions, but we're gonna try to make at least this campaign a very regular that you guys can tune into and know when it's happening. And right now, we just don't know with editing because we've got this, and then we're going to edit it and put it up on YouTube, and we're going to edit it and put it up on podcast. So we don't know with editing and me writing and things like that how much time it's going to take between episodes. So we'll let you know as soon as we can. We'll let you guys know how often that's going to pop up. And then once we kind of get that schedule, we'll stay in that regular schedule unless things come in advance. I'm in the Army, so if the Army kind of gets in the way with some annual training or something like that, then we'll try to keep you guys posted ahead of time. But we'll get ourselves on a schedule for everybody. So yeah, I think that's everything. I think we're gonna end this stream. Thank you for everyone for joining us on the Cross Media Discovery Network, and for all things nerdy, please feel free to hop in at any point and just shoot us a like on everything. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
See you guys.
Thanks,
See ya.
guys.